and wait like 2-3 minutes, and then you're wondering, well, why can't I just ask a question and let it run? Why wouldn't they communicate that way? Because it's about acknowledgement. It's about letting them know that you hear them. And they're in the room, so they're watching you. They know what you're doing. You know, it's not like you're talking to something that's not there. You're talking to something that is right there, and you're catching it on the recorder. The only difference is we can't see it with the naked eye. And by having these full-on conversations and this open communication, eventually, me and Carol hope to figure out a better way to see these spirits, to communicate even better. I mean, this isn't something that's like strapped down, this is the way you have to do things. You know, like when I was talking to Grant last night, he was giving me a ton of ideas of how we could even advance it further. Having like 8 or 9 different devices recording at once, which we have, you know, we have tried that. There's no reason to just use one audio device. Would you like to tell a little story about using the technique?
I guess probably the best example, well, what Herb is saying is when you carry on a conversation, you can ask them, what's it like on the other side? You can ask them what's a better way to communicate with. Do you get tired after 2 or 3, EVPs? So you can get the answers directly from those over there. I asked them the other day if they have cars over there, and they said yes. Who knew? But also, I stupidly asked, when did you die? You know, how many of us have done that? And the answer was, we don't die. So don't make the mistake and tick them all off, because apparently you don't die, the spirit continues on, the body just goes. So it's really great that you can get the answers, like I said, directly from the other side. You know, you don't have to guess what it's like over there. That's the whole point to it.
Well, it basically comes down to, you know, are you doing this on a personal level, or are you trying to do this on a scientific level? Because if it's scientific, then the way that we're investigating the paranormal up until this point is not going to cut it. It's not going to change anything. No one in the scientific community is going to take this seriously when you're bringing them back voices when there's no backup and it's not done in real time. They're just going to say, okay, even if you do tests and everything else, controlled tests without this multiple device, you know, without having a video camera on the investigator, which is most important, you know, and it's basically debunking yourself. You know, you're showing people that there's nothing going on here besides something supernatural. You know, and the most important part here is to know that everyone can do it. This isn't about what I can do. This isn't about, you know, Herb Street, the EVP God. That's not what it's about. It's about what everyone in this room has the ability to do, is to communicate.
You can talk with your loved ones. That's the other plus to this.
I mean, by a show of hands, how many people in here have dabbled with EVP recordings? Okay. Now, what do you think as far as this technique? Do you think that it seems like a good idea, or do you think that we should continue to do recordings with absolutely no solidification? So I mean, it's just, the question is why isn't everyone in this field using this technique? And you know, it just blows me away when I talk to people about this, because it's you know, when I fell on this, I mean, I've been in the field for about 6 years now, and it took me a long time to develop this, to get it down to a science, to what actually works. You know, I mean, I was doing this for such a long time, where like everyone else, I would only get a couple EVPs, and I'd be like, okay, there's got to be something that I can do here to make the communication better. There's got to be something. I mean, I don't understand this. If they can communicate, if I'm getting 1 or 2 voices, that could be discredited any 3 ways. You know, it could be radio signals, it could be someone whispering into the microphone, it could be someone off in the distance saying something, anything. But when you have all of this backup, there's just no denying it. There is absolutely no denying it. And with these lectures, these classes that me and Carol teach, you come, you experience this firsthand. You leave by the end of the night with the ability to communicate with people on the other side. I mean, this isn't some like thing where I'm having you come in and I'm going to entertain you for 2-3 hours, 5 hours, 6 hours, whatever, and you're going to leave and you're like, wow, you know, how did he do that? You're going to leave knowing exactly how I did that and exactly how you can apply it yourself in everyday life. I mean, communicating with people that you've lost, loved ones. I talk to my family on a daily basis that have crossed over. You know, and there's so much more to this than just communicating with spirits that, you know, you don't know who they are. why wouldn't you be able to communicate with everyone on the other side? And anyone, you know, and it's completely amazing. And when you start to build a rapport and a friendship with the spirits on the other side, as silly as this sounds, that's what it's about. You know, you can't go into a place and try to provoke and expect to get a positive response. And people might wonder, well, you know, when I'm hitting record and I'm asking all these questions, why is it that we're not getting answers every single time? But it's like I've said before, I mean, I'm really stressing this. It's acknowledgement. It's letting them know that you hear them and answering their questions. They could be asking you something. I mean, I'm sure everyone in this room has at least caught a couple of different questions, whether it was help me, who are you, so on and so forth, something to that effect, where you didn't answer them back because you didn't hear it until a day later, 2 days later, sometimes a week later. And by then, what are you going to go back to that place, go back to that room, and then answer the question? You know, it's just, it's common sense. That's all it took for me, was just to realize that, you know, we're talking to people here. We're not talking to some evil entity, some demon that's hiding in the darkness coming out of the pits of hell. These are spirits. You know, there are negative spirits out there, yes. But there are positive spirits out there. And they want to communicate. And they want to give us knowledge. I mean, there's so much that we can learn from the other side if we just apply ourselves and if we just attempt to solidify this, you know, paranormal, this paranormal world is all around us, everywhere.
Let me take that for a second. This is a good example. What are you doing here? What day did you die? I mean, wouldn't you say, like, hey, how are you? What's your name? Where are you from? Da, 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 da. You know, you have to treat them as if, like I said, there's a person just standing right there. You can't just, you know, barge in. And if you get this like, get out, well, what would you say if I walked into your house and just started talking to you, you know? I mean, you got to think about it. So what Herb's saying is just, you know, treat them like they're, you know, guests, or, you know, just be gentle with them and start out, get to know who they are, and start out slowly and build up. And you'll find that you'll get very, you know, class C's, very quiet answers at first. And again, if you just are polite, they'll get more comfortable, and then you'll start getting louder and louder and more answers to your questions. You can go more in depth.
If anyone has any questions, feel free to ask. Okay.
How do you know who you're talking to?
Well, see, that's the beauty of this, is you ask them, who are we talking to? I mean, and then you continue the conversation and try to figure out if it's really who they say they are. I didn't take, you know, their word on it when it said that it was my grandfather. I had to solidify that. I continued the conversation until there was just so much evidence that this was my grandfather that I couldn't deny it.